Greetings, folks. Scott Galbraith here, also known as The Great Scott, and welcome once again to The Great Scott's Roundtable. And tonight we have a very interesting roundtable for you. Well, the year was 2006, and I was attending the Merrimack Christian Film Festival in Lawrence, Massachusetts, solely for the reason of seeing David White and Kevin Downes, because I was working on a stage play version of David's movie Mercy Streets. Funny thing is, this was the exact same year that the Merrimack Christian Film Festival was showing the very first produced film by a company called Pureflix that has gone on to make the God's Not Dead series and several other films. The film was called Hidden Secrets. I'll never forget the first time I saw it, and it was a movie I really liked. And today I'm happy to say that we have reunited 3 of the people who worked on the film behind the scenes and 2 of the actors who appeared in front of the camera. I want to thank you all for being here. Thanks for taking time out of your schedules to be here tonight. All right, first up, we have the leading actress in the film. If any of you have ever seen Hidden Secrets before, you know that it is about a group of high school friends who are reunited after the death of a mutual friend. And the person who died was the brother of a character named Sherry. Sherry was played by an actress whose credits include Revelations Road 1 and 2. She's been on CSI, One Life to Live, Passions, and as somebody who watched the last 2 seasons of Sunset Beach, I will always remember her as Tess. So there's a fanboy part of me that's kind of geeking out right now that I'm interviewing this actress. Her name is Tracy Melchior. How are you doing, Tracy? Very nice to have you here tonight.
I'm doing well. So you've seen both sides of me, when I play the nice girl and when I play the not so nice girl.
I guess so, yes. Well, if you look at my channel, you know I have a little twin fascination, and you were involved in the Derek and Ben twin storyline. So that's one of the reasons why I remember I was watching Hidden Secrets. I'm like, oh, it's Tess from Sunset Beach. There we go. All right. Anyway, one of the things that makes Hidden Secrets so great is a character by the name of Rhonda, who, for lack of better terms, is a total hypocrite. And most of the movie, she ends up judging just about everybody, including her own husband. But one of the best moments of the film is when her husband finally puts her in the place at the end of the film. And that character was a best-selling author who wrote a series called The End, and his name was Harold. And he was played by an actor who has more than 67 IMDb credits. He's been on programs like Bold and the Beautiful, CSI. He appeared in Holy Man Undercover. I particularly will always remember him as the MC from the second Chipmunks film, because I really like those movies. Say hello to Greg Binkley. How are you, sir?
Very good. I didn't even know that I was on Bold and Beautiful. I've forgotten that.
Okay, well then maybe either you were on that or IMDb got it wrong. I think I
was a long time ago.
Yeah, I go through the IMDb credits and I find I pick the most recognizable names. What can I say?
Yeah, well, thankfully I've gone on to a few things since Bold and the Beautiful. It's more the skinny and the geeky now. That's.
Well, folks, sometimes you put these things together and you have some last-minute additions, which you welcome. And literally on 5 minutes' notice, we have the casting director here who worked on Hidden Secrets as well as several other Pureflix films. Please say hello to Billy DeMota. How are you doing, Billy?
Yeah.
Doing great. That's 35 other Pureflix films, by the way. Hidden Secrets is my first, and then I went on to do all of them until I got fired.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Hey, you're nobody.
John, you're not working for Pureflix anymore either. I think there's a trend.
We all have to move on. What can I say?
Yes. Well, speaking of people who have worked on a lot of Pureflix films, our next guest, it all starts with the script, and this guy is no stranger to my roundtable. This is his 4th appearance on my roundtable. And this is a guy, I always describe him as a very prolific screenwriter, having written pretty much most of Pureflix films over the years. He's also a best-selling author. He's also an author, having written his memoirs, The Pros and Cons of Talking to God, and his new book, Chapel Street. There we are. Please welcome back to my roundtable, Mr. Sean Paul Murphy. How are you, sir?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. I'm so happy to be here because I want to say something. I know it's not my time yet, but I just want to say I have nothing but good memories of this film, and I really enjoy all the people here that are on it right now in this program.
Me too.
Right back at you.
Thank you, Sean.
Yes, and after the writer puts pen to paper, you need someone to call the shots once everybody is on the set. And we have an actor who, with 88 credits to his name, including Bells of Innocence, Revelation Row 1 and 2, Jerusalem Countdown, Bruce Almighty, The Wager, just to name a few. And according to IMDb, he made his feature film directing debut with Hidden Secrets. Please say hello to Mr. Kerry Scott. How are you, sir?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Carrie, were you on Bold and Beautiful?
I was not Bold and Beautiful.
No, but he is bold and beautiful.
It's short and unattractive.
All right. Well, it's nice to have you all here. I appreciate you being here. Like I said, I just rewatched the movie last night to make sure it was fresh in my mind. And I thought this was a very well done film. And like I said, I think part of what makes it is the Rhonda character. I've known several people like that person. But one thing that I always like to do, now we have a Great Scots Roundtable first here. One of the things that I always like to try and do is find out how projects get started. And usually when I do that, I end up going to the director first. But this is the first time in history on my roundtable that the director and the writer are not the same person. Every other roundtable reunion I've done, the director was also the guy who wrote the film. In this case, Kerry, you were the director. Sean, you wrote the movie. So my question is, if we want to talk about the genesis or the beginning of Hidden Secrets, which one of you should start here?
Probably me.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, to make it long story short, this movie is actually older than Pure Flix. I had written a script called I, John, which is currently in pre-production elsewhere, waiting for COVID to die. And I was curious, and I sent it to Bobby Downs. At the time, Bobby Downs was starting a company with Kevin Downs and David A.R. White. They were called Eagle Rock, if I'm not mistaken. And I had Bobby's email, so I sent him the script just to see what he thought of it. Didn't hear back from him. Got this email back from a guy named Dave, who I didn't associate with David White, the actor who I'd seen, because I was researching Christian films. And he said he liked the script. He called me up, and he said he didn't want to do the movie. And I said, why? And he goes, because we only want to do movies that Kevin and I can star in. And there weren't two roles for Kevin and David in I, John. So he said, I have an idea. Let's do a Christian big chill. And he said he wanted to hit every controversial subject, and he wanted it to be a comedy. That's why he liked my script, I, John, because there's a lot of comedy. And at that point, I have a friend, Tim Radishak, and I told David, I said, I don't like to write comedy alone. I have done it before. I said, I think comedy's best written in pairs or teams. Can I bring my friend Tim on? He said, you can bring on whoever you want as long as we don't have to talk to him. We're only going to talk to you. And I said, okay. And I called Tim. He didn't believe me. He was actually asleep when I called him. And he said, let me think about it. I said, you have 15 minutes. I called him back in 15 minutes, and he said, yes. And we did a Big Chill ripoff. And I believe Carrie was already being scheduled to direct something because some other project had fallen apart.
Yes. How did you end up the director of this film?
Yeah, Sean,
Nice
that's exactly right. I was going to direct a film called Faith of Our Fathers that I had written, and I was real excited to direct this film. And we got it all together. I should backtrack just a little bit. I'll make a long story short, I promise. I had met David White in Texas. We were starring in a Chuck Norris movie together called Bells of Innocence. And we became really, really fast friends shooting this movie together. And he was talking about starting a production company, wanting to produce films, make films. And I said, I've been an actor for, 25, 30 years at that point. I want to do something more than act. I would love to direct a movie. I really want to direct. I wrote this screenplay called Faith of Our Fathers. I'd love for you to take a look at it and see what you think. And it wasn't faith-based. It was just a drama. And I sent it to him, and he said, if you can rewrite this a little bit and give it kind of a Christian edge, I think I could get this funded and get this made. And so I went, oh, okay, I'll do anything to direct a movie. So I went back and I retooled it and sent it back to him. And he said, yeah, I can get this funded. And so I was excited to direct my first movie, Faith of Our Fathers. We got the money together, and me and David and Kevin Downs, all of us, we were up in Sacramento. We were 2 days away from shooting, and we had cast everything. All the cast and crew everybody was up in Sacramento, California. And 2 days before shooting, Kevin brought everybody into his hotel room and said, all the money fell through. The movie's not happening. It's done. And I was crushed. It was my first feature to direct. I was just crushed. And I was so upset. And on the way back to Sacramento, I was talking to Dave. And Dave said, don't worry. I will find something. He felt so bad. He said, I will find something for you to direct. I promise you, because I know how badly you want to do this. And we got back, and literally like a couple of days later, he sent me Hidden Secrets and said, read this, tell me what you think. And I read it, and I called him back, and I said, sorry, Sean, there's a couple of, tweaks I might have, that if you don't mind, and we talked about those. And he said, and I said, yeah, I would love to do it. I would love to do it. And he said, great, you're hired. And the first person I called, Billy DeMotta.
Nice segue there. Nice segue
Yeah,
there. So yeah,
it was because I knew we needed an awesome cast, and
Yes.
Billy and
Fabulous cast in this movie.
Yes. Oh,
I've known
I-
Billy.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. A lot of them were hard to get a hold of. I tried, but we did manage to get two of
You
them.
should have
We
called
did
the
manage to get.
casting director.
I should have. Yeah.
Yeah, really. And I probably could have got a hold of a couple of people. He should have called me.
Sorry about that.
That's
But
all
I'm
right.
happy. I'm happy with who we do have here. So
This is
Greg.
not second tier. This is
No,
first tier here.
That's right.
Exactly.
David.
Yes.
This
Exactly.
is above the line here.
Exactly.
So I called Billy because Billy was, I've known Billy since the mid '80s. We've known each other a long time, and I knew I wanted him to cast the movie for me. And
Okay.
and so he was the first person on board.
Billy, you want to talk a little bit about casting the film, and maybe that can go into Greg and Tracy. Greg and Tracy can tell us how they got involved as well.
Sure. Well, the first thing, Kerry called me and he said, I think I was actually in the middle of casting a movie, and he said, I've got this little low budget thing. I think we're going to do it for a couple $100,000, and it stars this guy that nobody's ever heard of. He's done some Christian films, and he wants to start his own production company. And the first film he wants to do is Hidden Secrets. And he wants me to direct it, and I would love you to cast it. Now, Kerry and I have a relationship. First of all, Kerry's been coming in to read for me since the mid '80s, but I also would go to his class every year, a couple times a year, and guest teach at his class and watch his students and, and work with his students. So we had a really great creative relationship. So I trusted him as a director because I already knew his style and his passion. And we met at a place called Debbie Reynolds Dance Studio, which I think just closed this last year.
Just torn down to the ground.
One of the 2020 casualties.
Yeah.
It was a great place, a dance studio where we went in there and there was like boom, 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 boom. There's people like disco dancing in one, and they were people ballet dancing in another studio. And we found this studio, and we all sat and talked about this movie. And that's where Dave and I first met. I think it was 2006.
Yeah.
2006.
Yeah.
2006 we met. And we sat down and we talked about ideas. One of the first ideas that he had was there was a woman who was on a book tour, and she was writing about her experiences. I have to tell you, I've never read her book, but I hear it's quite good. And he said her name is Tracy Melchior, and I would love for us to be able to meet her and talk to her about co-starring in this movie with me. So that was the very first idea. And of course, we always come up with a lot of ideas. And I believe, Greg, you had a relationship with Dave before we met.
Right, I had done Holy Man Undercover, which Sean also was a writer on.
Right.
So, yes.
Right, but that was sometime after that. But the fact is Dave already had relationships that he was kind of pointing me in the directions of, and so Greg and Tracy that are here tonight were sort of already seeds in Dave's mind, and then of course we came up with other ideas and put together a pretty darn good cast. But that's how we found. And Tracy, you can talk a little bit more about the book tour. I think when you on a book tour?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your take on this, Tracy?
Yeah, I had just appeared on Larry King Live about my book, apparently, and Dave had seen that, my appearance on there. And the book's called Breaking the Perfect 10, and it's about how I broke all of God's 10 commandments trying to be Hollywood's perfect 10. And the Thou Shall Not Kill was about my abortion that I'd had at 19 years old.
Mm.
And so obviously that was, the tie-in, I think, that drew Dave to think that it would be a part that, had that I could relate to. And I'm very grateful to be able to play that character and, play out that kind emotion that a girl can go through with that experience. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up, Billy. I actually enjoy telling that story. I think it's a really cool way to get an introduction to a company like this, and an audition. It was really nice to have, instead of just being, oh, hey, there's a breakdown and you fit it. It was really cool to have a call where, hey, the producer of this film and casting director want to bring you in specifically. It gives you a little bit more confidence going to a room.
And also the great thing is it kind of led to a relationship between us where you would come in for I think almost everything we were casting that you were right for it.
Yeah, you're my casting boyfriend, right?
Right. So, well, what are some of the other PureFlix movies that you've done? So just because off the top of my head, I'm blanking.
I did Revelation Road, that goes with Eric Roberts. I played his
right.
wife, the police officer in that.
Right.
Again, real life, because I'm married to a police officer in real life. So they're like, oh, how about Tracy? So not a big stretch there, I guess. And then the Do You Believe, which was the most recent.
Oh, right. That was awesome. That was such a great role.
I loved that movie too. That was a good one as well.
Really beautiful movie.
Tracy, I did know that your husband, isn't he an LA SWAT officer?
He retired from there and he lateraled over to Anaheim. So he did that at a good time. It's a little more easygoing.
It's one of the trivia things on your IMDb profile. But I didn't know the thing about your book. The scene in the movie where you have the breakdown because you had an abortion now has you just blew my mind. It has totally different meaning now. Okay.
Yeah, and I had just recently had my first son. I want to say he was like 3 or 4 when we shot this. And so it was very profound for me because having my child after having an abortion myself, after my abortion, I had a very bad infection. I almost died. I had peritonitis. And so I had to be rushed into emergency surgery, and they were going to maybe have to take all my reproductive organs because they were so infected. So when I woke up, I didn't know if I would ever have kids. So then you fast forward to me becoming a believer, and then God blessing me with a child that was not only, I was not only able to get pregnant after that, but I had a healthy child. So for me, it was like proof of God's grace, that I was forgiven for what I perceive as that first gift of being a mother. I pretty much wadded that gift up and threw it back in his face. Didn't think I could handle being a mother and was scared to death being a mother, but turns out it was the best thing that I've ever attempted. So.
And now he's driving.
And now he's driving a motorcycle.
Oh, no.
Greg, you had said
that was here in this round table.
What'd you say?
Did you cast anyone else that's here in this round table?
Mr. Binkley.
Yeah. So.
Oh,
yeah. So yes. So Greg, I was gonna ask you. Billy had said that you had already known Dave White. Was this the first film that you were involved in? You said he was in Holy Man Undercover. How did talk a little bit about that?
Right. I'd known David for quite a while. We're both from Kansas. And yes, I was in Holy Man Undercover. When he was starting just to make films, he would just do it guerrilla style on very low budget and just create things. And I've always admired that about David. He gets things done. One way or another, he gets things done. And then he contacted me about this. I had just finished a campaign for Del Taco. I was the spokesman out here for
right.
Del Taco Man, yes.
6 years. And I'll never forget, Tracy. I saw you on the sidewalk when you got cast in this, and you said, one of the reasons I wanted to do it, I heard the Del Taco guy was going to be doing this.
You were great in those.
Oh, well, thank you. So that meant a lot to me that Tracy liked that I was doing the project as well. So yes, so David invited me, and actually I love Sean's writing. I mean, there's so many funny things for me to do, and
really?
Carrie also encouraged me to a couple of ad libs here and there as well to add a little levity to the situation.
I want to give Tim credit too, because he wrote a lot of the fun stuff for you too.
Actually, I was curious about that, having watched this recently. Like, for example, I was wondering, Carrie, maybe you can speak to this. Greg, maybe you can speak to this because you're in the scene. but there's a lot of the banter when you guys are fixing the roof. Was that scripted, or were you guys? I didn't think so. Now it sounded like
Not the baby doll stuff. That wasn't.
yeah, Divorce Barbie. That was a great
stuff,
joke.
Most of the stuff on the roof was improv.
Yes,
Yeah.
I figured. I thought so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, just out of curiosity, I think you mentioned this beforehand, but I don't remember what you said. Where was this film shot? How long did this movie take to make, and where did you guys film it?
We shot the entire film in 16 days, I believe. And we were in LA mostly. We were, one location was in Torrance. Where was that house? The big house?
Calabasas.
Calabasas, right. We were in Calabasas most of the time. Right. Yeah. Big, beautiful house. Yeah.
Anybody have any on the set stories that might not be on the behind the scenes or might be known?
Well, I had an on the set romance.
Really?
I was only there for 3 days, so it was a quick one. But one thing about the schedule, I was talking to Tracy, and I think you were doing like 6 pages a day, which, you know, I've been doing other stuff. We didn't do like 6 pages a day. And I talked to her. I said, boy, I can't believe you're doing 6 pages a day. And she goes, she goes, on the shows, we do 60 pages a day on the soap operas. So I know that I wasn't killing her. You know?
Yeah, we were averaging 6-7 pages a day. And my very first day as a director was at that club when we had to, when we all went dancing. And I had to shoot 3 different bands. And all of that swing dancing and all the dialogue at the table on my very first day at work as a director, I was terrified. But it came off great. Everybody,
But, you know, the thing is that I think because we got such a, and I'm not bragging here, but because the cast was there was people that were working in TV. I mean, Corey Nemec and Stacy Keenan and Tracy, Reggie Val Johnson. Greg, everybody had worked in TV before, so I think everybody knew the pace. They understood the rhythm, and they knew that even with a low budget film, that, you know, time was of the essence. And I was on the set a couple of times in the club, and I couldn't believe how quick the setups were, how quick the turnarounds were. Also, David White was yelling a lot, but
whispering in my ear every 3 minutes. Move it, move it, move it.
Yeah, move it. Yeah, in the nice.
I want to say one thing about that. That killed the auteur theory for me, because Tim and I came today after you shot all that stuff at the club. I guess maybe it's the first day in the house. And the first shot I was watching, I forgot, I think it was a scene with maybe Corin and John Schneider. And you did like the reverses. And then you were like, okay, now we're going to go up and shoot it from above. And Michael Scott walked up and said, no, we got to move on. You know, so it's like, I'm like, boy, so the director doesn't get to make all the decisions.
No, so much of my creativity was stripped from the first 5 minutes. And I knew that's the way it was going to be the rest of the time. There was one shot that I tried to do. They let me try it for about an hour, and it just didn't work. I don't know if you guys remember this. Sitting at that table, I had you guys all in profile, and I was shooting down everyone's profile and having you kind of lean in and lean out. And it was so beautiful, but the timing, we just couldn't get the timing together. And so after about an hour, Mike Scott came over to me and he said, we just got to shoot it. You can't do it. It's too artsy. You got to just shoot it. So,
Carrie, do you remember what I wanted to do in the nightclub scene and you wouldn't let me?
I sure do.
What was that?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about the same thing.
Let's not get nasty now.
You got me curious. Come on.
Okay.
Well, you know, I was David White's character high school girlfriend, right? And he had a band, and the whole thing was we all went like old times to watch him play. So I had spent time, and I figured I learned what the song was because I wanted to know the words of it. And I wanted to know the song so that when they were playing, I could mouth the words of the song. And I thought it would be really cool. It would show history. It would show their history. Now I know what stress you were under and why you're like, I don't have time for that. I was like, we gotta go. Now I know it was your day and the history you were on. So
it's tough. That's tough. And I felt bad. And, there was so much of that. I mean, I had so many artsy type shots, set up. I'm watching Fellini and, and I'm watching all these great filmmakers go, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And and they were all cut short almost immediately. So it was just shoot it.
Darn low budget.
Yeah.
You know, I want to say I thought you did a really good job, and I know the stress you were under when you shot those scenes in the thing. I tell you, Greg, I thought you did one. I thought perhaps one of the funniest lines you did when you're talking about somebody says we all have our crosses to bear, and you said mine weighs 135 pounds, and she looks at you and she goes, I heard that. You just turn to her and say 134.
I think I came
My
up with
favorite line of Greg's is when him and Sean, are on the
Sean Sedgwick.
Sean Sedgwick are at the beginning of the film, and he goes, "Does she remind you of anybody?" And he goes, "Satan." She goes, "No, not my wife."
Yeah. Oh, that was great.
Well,
He really provided a lot of comedy.
yeah. Now, who was the actor? I can never remember this poor guy's name. He was on Parker Lewis Can't Lose.
Warren Nemick.
Yeah. I thought what you guys did with his character was very good. I mean, that's a subject. You said that Dave White wanted to tackle all the controversial.
He was such a great actor and pulled that off. It really,
He did it very well. And
It was a fraction of what it was. Pureflix started chickening out because they,
right.
you know, it's funny because it was really supposed to be an ensemble piece. There would have been more of Greg and Autumn and more of all the, you know, and a lot more of Michael. Michael was in the original script a lot more, you know, Corin's role. But they really started, because we would call in like the gay role. And even in emails, they say, don't even say in the email, say gay, say formerly gay. I mean, they really kind of backed off, but it was pretty brave to do what they did. So I got to give them some credit, but they backed off that role considerably since the original thing. But I was glad we got him, you know, so.
Well, like I said, he did a very good job. Well, one question that I always like to ask whenever I bring cast and crews together like this is, do you have a favorite scene in the film? I guess that's a no. Okay. I'm not asking anybody. Does anybody have a favorite scene in the film?
I think Greg does.
Well, no, Sean, actually the one you mentioned was one of the ones as I was watching again the film today, I really enjoyed that. But yeah, there was a lot of, I remember on the rooftop, we had a great time on that rooftop. They had a fake rooftop, right, Carrie, that you had. Yeah. We weren't always on the actual roof.
We're about 2 feet off the ground. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had a great time playing around on that. That was a fun time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Greg's scenes were all my favorite scenes, quite honestly. You were a hoot in that.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I viewed it, there were two kinds of scenes. There were these really heavy scenes like you had, Tracy, you know. I mean, I thought that was very compelling. And I'm so glad. And I think I'm going to sound really arrogant right now, you know, but it's praise to all of you. But up until that time, I think this was the best independent Christian drama out there. I mean, if you look at all, you know, no offense, all the other films that were out there, this had a lot of heart. It had a great cast. Everyone did a great job. It covered a lot of serious stuff. Of all the faith-based films I did, and there's probably 12 of them, this is the one I enjoy watching most because this one really makes me smile. I think there's a lot of funny stuff in it, but I think the dramatic stuff really works too. I mean, I could tell, Tracy, you were really putting your heart into that scene where you're like talking about the abortion and all. I just, you know, I find it very compelling. I think the ending is very funny. You know, all these, everyone's having their confessions at the church service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know? And then you finally put Rhonda in her place, and Sean Sedgwick is like, I got to come to church more often.
Right. That was a funny line.
Reginald Val Johnson was so great at the end because he's like the minister, and he's like utterly shocked at all this stuff. Maybe I think we should all pray. You know, and I thought he played it perfectly, and I really enjoyed this film, and I really enjoy everyone that's here. And
well, we enjoy you.
Well,
I did a film a few years ago in Texas with John Schneider, and you know, we were talking, and he said, you know, Carrie, it's like, honestly, it's like I've done a bunch of these, you know, faith-based films, and he's like, but Hidden Secrets is the one that my family likes the most. It's the one that we go back and rewatch. He's like, I don't rewatch my films very often, and my family just kind of moves on from them. He's like, but he's like, they all love Hidden Secrets, and it's one that we rewatch often which was a
Well,
big, huge compliment. And so nice of him to say that to me.
It's funny because I live in Oregon now. I live in Southern Oregon, and I live with near all my brothers and sisters and my extended family. I probably have 30 nieces and grandnieces and nephews that live within 15, 20 miles of me, and every one of them is familiar with my entire catalog because they love watching Uncle Billy's movies. And Hidden Secrets has always been a favorite. In fact, I have to find another copy because I have a DVD version that's now just like fried. So I have to figure out how to, and I don't know if they can get it on Netflix, but I know they can get it on the Pureflix channel. But
Yeah.
I
Well,
know
I'll tell you, it's now on television. It's back on cable. It used to be on like 4 or 5 different networks, but it's on Positive TV because I just DVR'd it off it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I took my nieces to see it, and they're kind of cynical girls. It was playing at a Christian film festival in Pittsburgh, and I drove my nieces to see it, my wife and I, and they were like stunned because, like during Tracy's big scene, I mean, people in the audiences were crying, and my niece is like, people are sobbing. She couldn't believe it.
Well, that's the thing, Tracy brought that heart to the role. If you have a capable actor like her, you actually care for all that she's going through. And so that made it powerful. And then you add some levity and Carrie's direction, everything really came together. It was a beautiful movie. And I got to say, Billy, watching it today, I cannot believe the actors you were able to bring together for us. That was amazing.
Carrie was kind enough to hire me because I think he knew of my experience. I've been casting since 1985, and I've done huge studio movies, and I've developed a catalog of actors that I know, that are the tens of thousands of actors, and a lot of these were kind of like favors from agents, and not because the script wasn't great, but because we're paying people $400 a day, so or whatever it was. I mean, it wasn't a lot of money. People were doing it because of the material, but agents were allowing me to get it to their clients. I mean, like, the great thing when my family watches this and they say, "Hey, Dukes of Hazzard," when they see John Schneider or they see Reginald Bell Johnson, and they'll say, "Die Hard, he was in Die Hard." My family knows these people. So the great thing about the film is that it has this sort of familiarity to it, right away. I mean, the writing is just amazing, but the fact that it's got faces from the soap world, from the network TV world, from the commercial world, from the big feature film world, from the Christian world, all in one sort of pastiche of a cast. I got really lucky. I used a lot of my favors. It was my first kind of little film, at least this small. and I think that the cast just kind of came together. I mean, we can call it divine providence, but I think that sometimes that's what it is. It's somebody bigger sorry, Carrie, but somebody bigger was directing this movie.
No, absolutely agreed. There's a million things as a director. There's a million problems and a million things to think about when you're trying to make a film. And the one thing I didn't have to worry about was the actors. I knew I was going to get solid performances from everybody because everyone was great. I had actually known Greg before as well. We've known each other for a long time too. And so when Dave threw out your name, I was like, yes, that's a no-brainer. Right. I already knew him, and so. When we got this cast together, I was like, well, this is great. This is one thing I won't have to worry about is performances. And that made my job a lot easier on top of all the things that weren't easy.
Thanks for hiring me, Carrie.
Can I compliment you on one thing, Carrie?
Oh, please.
Okay. And this may not sound like a compliment, but when I was on the set and I was watching you direct some of these scenes, I thought you were pushing the actors to be a little more emotional than I thought. But of course, I'm watching it more in isolation. But when the film was done and I saw, how it played out for the audience, I was like, you were 100% right, in the way you were doing it.
Well,
You
that's
know,
Carrie's,
I was
that's Carrie's
lucky when I was-
ability as a,
Oh, did Billy disappear?
just as an actor. Sorry.
We lost you there, Billy. Try that
We
again.
lost you, Billy.
Oh, I was going to say that it's not just because of, Carrie's a great actor, but also because he's a teacher and because his ability to nurture and to find that emotional hot spot, the sweet spot, I should say, that he knows will maybe play kind of big on the set, but when you see it on film, it's going to be exactly perfectly metered. I mean, he's just such a great director and such a great. He's so great about the way he works with actors. I think I've probably gone to his class a couple of dozen times now over the years.
Easy, yeah.
and every time I see their actors work, and I'm talking about even actors that have just started in the business, their work is so amazing, and the way they deliver is so spot on, and it comes from just a great leader in the classroom. So,
Well, thank you, Billy. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
I was really impressed because I've seen this like when it was in the Phantom, release, where it was at like 200 theaters. Of course, I was going from theater to theater to see it, let alone at the film festivals, and it played really well with the audiences.
Cool.
They laughed at all the right times and they cried at all the right times, and I couldn't have been happier with the way it turned out. Even where the script was changed.
You
But
guys are making my job way too easy tonight.
can I say one thing? One of the lines
One
they
thing,
put
go
out-
right ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I keep interrupting.
No, it's okay. No, believe me, I prefer someone else do all the talking except me.
Well, Corin had this line where Rhonda goes up to him and says, and they talk about, is he seeing anyone and this and that, and he said it's not good for a man to touch a woman. He quotes the Bible, and she goes, "I wish there were more men like you." In the script that they cut it out because they thought it was too risque, was he says, "Yeah, I wish there were too." When I was on the set, he ad-libbed it because it's the perfect thing at the end.
Yeah.
And I was standing next to David, and I said, "It's great. Can we use it?" And he's like, "No."
Yeah, I was gonna say we did shoot that. I remember shooting that, but yeah, they had to cut it. Yeah.
I kind of had a feeling that when Autumn goes into Tracy and he says no, he says he's never been with a woman. He goes, "Well, that I believe." I was like, "Oh, I think I know where they're going with that." So it kind of tipped the end. The one thing, I don't want to give away any spoilers here or whatever.
I think
But,
we've all seen it.
What'd you say? What?
Oh, that's right. There's other people watching. I forgot.
Oh, yeah, we've all
Well, not right now. We're recording this, and it's going to be up later on.
Right.
But one of the things that I was surprised by was pretty much the twist at the ending. During, I don't want to give it away, but you thought one thing happened at the beginning of the film, and then it turns out when you get to the end, it was different. It was different. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Hmm?
Yes, but we really can't comment on it.
What
Yeah, I
Corin
mean,
Emmerich's character said.
Can't say anything, or else
Give it away, but yeah, that was a beautiful twist at the end where you thought
Yes.
one thing was true and it turns out.
yeah.
So were there any what was the Scott, I'm sorry, I can talk. It's not good for the host to get tongue tied. Were there any like major challenges doing this film that stand out in your mind?
We had no money.
Yeah, I was going to say for me, finding the money to pay cast.
Just not enough days, not enough money. But there's challenges in every film you make. I mean, if you have $200 million and the biggest movie stars in the world, there's still challenges.
Yeah.
There's still going to be problems.
And
So
here's
yeah, there were
little
problems every day.
knowledge that some of the actors actually lived in the house where we were filming.
Oh, really?
Corin did like a couple people live in that house. I
Yeah,
believe,
he stayed there a few nights. I know that. Yeah,
while we were doing it. So
yeah. There's
I would say
there's always production problems. Always.
I would- The challenges for me was I was having this kind of romantic connection with David, and Andrea was there, and and I'm like trying to not step on toes or whatever. She's all there, cute and pregnant. And I was like trying to. That's always hard, when you have to play sort of a love interest kind of thing with someone is married and you're married, and it's not easy. I would say that was one challenge that I had, but other than that, it was a pleasure to be on set. But one of the things I wanted to say too is I get a lot of people reach out to me about this movie. Like, even, I guess maybe because you're saying it's airing again, but I mean, just constantly over the years, people are like, I just saw, oh my gosh, were you Sherry Hayden? And, you know, I get a lot of people reaching out. And one of the things people have said is, and I agree, this would have made a great series.
Hmm.
I mean, there's so much ongoing that could have been fleshed out with these characters. I think it would have made a great series. You know, either a film series or a television series, but a lot of great characters that I think people wanted more of.
Yeah.
Series are the way things are going now. Me and the guy who made Reconciler, we've been trying to make a series for a couple of years now. But what would you say is for any of you have a memory of like what the best part of doing this film was? I guess I'm asking all the questions to get a stunned silence around.
I think the problem with a question like that is that when you think about a movie that has such fond memories, you can't really think of anything that wasn't sort of a exciting at the time. That was, I mean, for instance, I mean, when the cast started to come together, I mean, Carrie and I would sit there and we would say, I can't believe we just got him, or I can't believe, you know, she wants to do it. And those are the kind of exciting moments that we had in the casting process, sort of like reading people or making offers to people, or, you know, I would call Carrie and I would say, hey, so-and-so just got pitched. And he would say, no way. Really? Okay, but let's make an offer. Sometimes it didn't work out, sometimes it did, but, you know, and the great thing about it is that, for me especially, is that every film to me is a family. And hopefully it extends into the next film and the next film and the next film. I mean, of course, after this film, you know, Do You Believe with Tracy and Holy Man Undercover with Greg, and of course, Reginald Bell Johnson in every single movie we've ever done, because he just keeps coming back. And of course, you know,
Someone said they remembered him from Die Hard. I remembered him from Family Matters, but
yeah, we're Family Matters too. Yeah, but I worked on Die Hard, so that's why I remember that one. And you know, and also developing a relationship with Sean and working on such great films with him over the year. I mean, Sean, why don't you mention some of the movies, because I'm blanking now, right, just in front of me. I don't
Well,
have
after this, it was Holy Man Undercover, Sarah's Choice, which is one of my favorites,
right.
and then The Encounter, Run On, Brother White, Marriage Retreat, Encounter 2, Paradise Lost, which was shot in Thailand.
Yeah.
And Revelation Road 2, Revelation Road, Black Rider, you know. And I worked on some of the other ones, like Tim and I were fired off of Blink of an Eye as writers, but I ended up editing it, you know. So there was a lot of stuff. And there were a number of other scripts too, some that didn't get produced, but it was a good experience. I can tell you what my worst experience was on the film.
what was that?
Well, Tim and I, you know, went to LA, and we had this thing about visiting cemeteries. So we took a day off from the shoot to go and visit Hollywood Forever or Forest Lawn, I forgot which one.
Yeah.
And that was the day that John Schneider brought, you know, the General Lee, and was sitting in it and taking pictures with people. And we heard about it the next day, and I'm like, we could have gotten a picture with John Schneider and with the General Lee, you know. So, you know, he was in.
He posted something on his Facebook page just today that he's at an event with the General Lee, which is one of the reasons why I think he couldn't be here. So, anyway, one last question here. I always like to ask casts or crew of faith-based films this. What do you hope that somebody watching this film gets out of it?
Well, I would think my character Harold's relationship with the wife that was a little too hardcore. Hopefully, that would be a great lesson that people would take away. That, you know, sometimes
Don't get married.
Right. Maybe not be quite so judgmental. Everybody's going through their own path in life, so that's hopefully a message that resonated with people.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have to second that. I mean, my first answer is a lame duck answer. My first answer is just I hope they get out of it as entertainment, that they enjoyed watching it and that it was fun for them to watch. That's number one, of course. But as far as messages goes, my answer is the same as Greg. That people can be judgmental. You don't know what people are going through and all that. But yeah.
I really like that too. And my theory on faith-based films, particularly now, is that only Christians watch them. So every film is always about someone coming to the Lord. But the reality is those people generally are not watching these movies. So to me, the most important thing you can do is put a message towards the church with like the Rhonda character. Yeah. And there's another thing, and it wasn't an accident, is that how she's constantly talking about abortion, how evil these people are, not realizing that the person she's complaining it about had one, and how this attitude, this like hateful attitude, you don't know who you're hitting with it, with like Tracy's character, so it's like, relax, show some grace now and then,
Yeah.
To me, that's the message to film.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else have anything they want to add?
Can I invite someone on for a half a second?
Sure.
Yeah.
So if you remember the scene in the bar with the waitress who comes over to Rhonda and says, Rhonda says, "What are you doing, working in a place like this? Are you a Christian?" And the waitress says, I could ask the same thing of you, I want to say hi to her. Hey, Carrie Lynn.
Drag her in, come on.
That would be your wife.
This was my wife. Yeah.
And her answer in the movie was, "I'm going to marry that director."
Come say hi.
Hi.
Just put on her
I brought Joe with me. Hi, guys.
Hi.
new doggy.
Hi.
Carrie Lynn.
This is Joe. We
Sis.
need to get her an agent too.
Yeah, really.
Terry Lynn.
Nice to see you guys.
Nice.
Hey, what's up? KLM, what up?
What up? How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
See, we got another cast member in.
Yeah.
Under the wire.
There you
Yeah. I'll let you guys get back to work. Nice to see you guys.
You get another chair in that office, Karen.
Yeah. Well, that concludes all the questions that I had here. One thing that I always tell, now Sean will know this because he's been here before. I always tell people that, because I ask people if they want to do these reunions, and they very graciously say yes, like all of you did. Everybody who appears on my roundtable is entitled to a free copy of my screenwriting debut, The Reconciler. So if you guys want a copy of this, all you have to do is send me an address, and I will drop it right in the mail to you.
Cool.
And so thank you. I want to thank you all for being here. Anybody else have anything they want to add before we wrap up here?
I just want to say thank you for doing this, and it's great to see all the people I don't keep in touch with or see often. It's just nice to be reunited in this little reunion, because I don't know enough of y'all, and it really was a great experience and a fond experience, and I adore y'all. So I appreciate you bringing us together.
Yeah, I'd like to say that kind of the same thing with a little bit of a twist. It's great to have a reunion like this. I love this. I love the fact that we're all connected and we're all still working and we're all still, we still like each other. But also the relationships that we developed in this movie, 15 years ago, have really enriched my life, and I'm sure I can speak for the rest of you in a certain sense that the relationship you make, the working relationships that you make in your personal life sometimes bleed over into your creative life, and vice versa. And I've made so many great friends from my relationship with PureFlix. My current status with them notwithstanding, I love the connections I've made. I love the fact that it's brought Carrie and I closer as far as friends. I'm 700 miles away, 800 miles away from Carrie, and I probably talk to him more now than I did when I was in Los Angeles. But I think the relationship you develop in almost everything you do are great. I think this movie was a great catalyst for a lot of great relationships developed over the years. So I thank you, and I thank God for that.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. This was, it was my first movie as a director, and I've been lucky to direct a couple things after, but this was my first experience, and it was a great first experience. And
You never
lucky
forget
to
your
have.
first, right, Carrie?
Yeah.
What's that?
Never forget your first, right, Carrie?
Yeah, no, that's true. You don't forget your first. Absolutely. I was so lucky to have everyone, and that's, Billy brought everyone together, and and Greg ended up directing me in a TV show just about a year ago, and that was awesome to be able to work with Greg again, and and I love all these people too. I've known Billy the longest probably, or maybe Greg, but around the same time, probably mid '80s, both of you. And I love all of you, and getting to know Tracy was great, and Sean, and it just was a great experience for me. My first experience, I got really, really, really lucky on my first one. I'm gonna keep going, make some more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Oh, did you have something? Yeah, go ahead. Was someone saying something there?
I heard somebody.
I think he coughed.
Okay.
Well, I think I've already said it earlier. I'm very grateful. This movie was an extremely happy experience for me, and I just thought it was great. I thought everyone did a fabulous job. As I said, of these films, this is the one I enjoy watching most, and I'm glad we're here doing this. And I know Carrie and I have talked about things, this and that, and Tracy was very helpful when I was. It's not an ad. I'm just saying I put out a memoir, and I had a lot of moral questions about what should I say, I should cover up, and Tracy was extremely helpful. I went to her because she had put out her memoir, Breaking the Perfect 10. And I'm so glad to see Greg again, because Greg, I just think you are absolutely terrific too.
Oh, well, thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. And I love seeing everybody here. This has really been a wonderful experience to see you all and discuss our time together. So thank you, Scott, for putting this together.
Hey,
Thank you.
thanks for making. I got nothing but respect for people who make films like this, and that's one of the reasons. Sean will tell you firsthand how many doors I've been knocking on, and how much I've been pounding the pavement trying to be part of the faith-based film world. And I finally got to do my first one back in 2014. So anyway, I want to thank you all for being here, and to everybody out there watching this, check out Hidden Secrets if you haven't seen it. And Sean, you said this is available on. Where can people find it? You said it's on TV?
Positive TV, the cable network. It's on pureflix.com, and it's readily available on Amazon for purchase.
All right.
And I don't have any residuals on this one, so I'm not just saying it to enrich myself.
All right. Well, thank you all for being here, and thanks for everybody out there watching. I'm the Great Scott. Thank you for joining us here for the Hidden Secrets reunion on the Great Scott's Roundtable.